Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're jumping headfirst into chapter 107 of Bibliomancers, and let me tell you, this one is a wild ride. We're talking about a full-blown revolution that takes 6 months to unfold, only to have it all snap back with a reality-bending twist that will mess with your head. So yeah, chapter 107. This is all about a campaign to overthrow a god. But here's the kicker. It's not fought with swords and magic, but with, believe it or not, stage plays and catchy songs. It's an incredible lesson in psychological warfare that ends with, well, one of the strangest homecomings you could ever imagine. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the revolution when it was kind of losing steam, then get into the brilliant war of words that changed everything. We'll see how music became their secret weapon, how a peaceful victory was won, and then bam! We'll hit that disorienting return home and the very weird aftermath.
All right, so let's set the scene. The chapter kicks off weeks into this campaign. The protesters, they're all about nonviolence, which is great, but they're kind of stuck. Yeah, their crowds are getting bigger, but they're still way outnumbered by the faithful who are praying 24/7. The whole revolution has pretty much hit a brick wall.
So faced with this total stalemate, Jock comes up with a new plan, and it's a good one. She decides to shift from just protesting to straight-up psychological warfare. She writes this play, right? And it's totally sacrilegious. It's designed to mock the god's massive ego and, more importantly, to remind everyone that he literally stole his followers' organs. The goal is simple. Hit the regime right where it hurts and its fragile self-image, and hopefully get a reaction out of its top enforcer, Angel. And guess what? The play works like a charm. It completely baits the regime's iron fist, Angel. And just like that, the fight moves off the streets and onto an ideological battlefield, bringing Jock face to face with her biggest adversary. And right on cue, Angel shows up. She is furious, holding a copy of the script. She is not there to negotiate. Nope. She's there to shut the whole thing down and arrest everybody. She calls it a sacrilegious act and says they're all going on trial. But Jack doesn't argue. She doesn't fight. She does something way, way smarter. She pulls out her actual weapon, logic. She asks this simple, totally disarming question that just cuts right to the heart of Angel's authority. I mean, if you're going to arrest someone, you have to say what law they broke. So Jack just asks, which one is it?
It's perfect. Jack uses the regime's own rules against them. She's like, hey, wait a minute. St. Peter himself at the pearly gates told me there were no more rules up here. See what she did? She put Angel in this impossible spot. Either Angel admits there are no rules to break, or she has to accuse St. Peter, the guy who runs the front door of heaven, of being a liar. It's a total checkmate.
And then Jacques delivers the knockout punch. She completely flips the whole argument around. She basically says, hey, Angel, if just mocking a god is enough to undermine their power, well, that must be a pretty weak god, don't you think? Kind of like a kid who can't take a joke. And that's it. Angel is left completely speechless. She has to retreat. The war of words won.
Okay, so with Angel totally outplayed on the intellectual field, the revolution evolves. It's time for phase 2. They move beyond plays and arguments, and they embrace a new weapon, one that's super effective for winning over a population that's starved for entertainment. Music. Jock literally weaponizes pop music. The strategy is so simple, it's brilliant. They take popular, super catchy songs and just rewrite the lyrics to make fun of the god, the church, and especially the angels. I mean, the angels never had organs, so how could they possibly get what everyone's so upset about? These new songs are really easy to learn, super repetitive, and they are designed to be total earworms, the kind of thing that gets stuck in your head for days. And let me tell you, this musical strategy was a huge success. The culture shifted so fast. Just weeks before, the protesters were a tiny minority. But look at this timeline. Within just 1 month of the music starting, the protesters actually outnumber the faithful praying inside the churches. And this chart just shows you that critical turning point visually. In just 1 month, the whole movement captured the majority. The balance of power has completely, irrevocably shifted. The revolution now has the people on its side, and it seems like there's nothing the god can do to stop it. So, with all this incredible momentum, the group gets together for a meeting. Now, they know that time might be doing some weird stuff back home, but they are right on the edge of victory. They decide they have to commit, to go all in, and escalate their nonviolent tactics for one final push. And even with the risk of time passing differently back home, the decision is unanimous. Groucho basically says what they're all thinking. We're too close to give up now. So they all vote to stay and see this thing through to the end, no matter how long it takes.
Their final strategy is just devastatingly simple and totally peaceful. The protesters just occupy every single space, every single step leading into the churches, all across literal heaven. They create this human blockade. It makes it impossible for anyone to get inside to pray. But, and this is key, they always make a path for anyone who wants to leave.
And this tactic, it was the final nail in the coffin. Over the next 2 months, the number of faithful just plummets from 25% all the way down to a tiny 5%. The blockade basically starves the God of his followers, which starves him of his power. The revolution is won, and not a single punch was thrown. So after 6 long, sleepless months of constant protest, they've done it. Victory. But their return home is, well, it's anything but a celebration. It's confusing, it's disorienting, and it is completely surreal.
You know, the end of the revolution is actually kind of quiet. There's no big final battle, no dramatic explosion. After half a year of all that work, a portal just opens up in their living room. They grab their stuff, link hands, and just step through.
They basically slam right into their friends Harry and Draco, who are waiting for them. Jock's, still trying to process the 6 months she just lived through, asks how long they were gone. And Harry's answer makes zero sense. He says their friend, Groucho, came back with them just a minute ago. And that's the first clue that something is really, really wrong with time.
And here it is, the stunning, mind-bending truth. Their entire 6-month revolution, all the plays, the songs, the blockades, the sleepless nights, all of it, it all took place in less than a single day back in their homeworld of Tregaron. They lived through half a year that, for everyone else, just never happened. So the chapter wraps up with our characters trying to deal with this massive psychological whiplash. And they cope in, well, the only ways they seem to know how, with some crude jokes and some bizarrely casual planning for the evening.
First things first, we get confirmation that they are physically back to normal. Groucho, in his classic Groucho way, checks his pants and happily announces that his favorite organ, which was stolen from him in literal heaven, is back. It's a crude moment for sure, but it's also funny and it kind of grounds them back in their own physical reality.
And then the chapter ends on this just utterly bizarre note. Another housemate, Nix, just pops in, confirming the whole time discrepancy thing by casually talking about dinner plans from last night and scheduling her torture sessions like nothing happened. For her, it's just another Tuesday. For Jock and Frida, it's the end of a 6-month war. And it really leaves you with the question, how in the world do you even begin to process living through an entire revolution that the rest of the world completely missed?